Hi, I'm Brett Pickford. I'm a captain here at South Metro Fire Rescue, and this is Fleet Friday with a training tiller. Over the past couple years, we've been working on getting a training tiller in preparation for the new apparatus that we're expecting from Pierce in May. We're replacing a tower ladder with a rescue tiller, so it'll house a lot of the equipment that the rescue has on it now, and then also function as a straight stick ladder. So it'll accomplish both tasks for us here. And so in going out to California with Front Range Fire and looking at Pierce's, we wanted to get with other departments, and obviously the West Coast has a lot of tillers out there, so we went to 4 different departments out there to look at theirs and talk to them, because obviously they're the professionals with it, and figure out what works best for them for compartmentation and things like that, and designing ours. And then when we were talking to the captain at Rialto, he basically said that they got an old Hollywood tiller that they had purchased, for I think it was like $50,000 or something like that, and they use that as their training tiller. And so the benefit with that was that it's a little bit shorter and more maneuverable. So when people first learn, there's less learning curve with it, and that it prepares them for when the new one comes in, so they're not having a brand new truck that they're potentially having potential accidents with, or a learning curve with a new truck. So if they ding something up or hit a curb or something like that, the stakes aren't as high with the training tiller. And obviously, there's some cost savings with that when you think about the wear and tear on a new truck and the downtime. So the benefit of this is that when our frontline Pierce comes in, then we'll already be trained for the most part. We'll do some in-service training, but there won't be months of training on it to get us up to date on how tillers operate. So we started with our program, and we were fortunate enough to have a engineer from Oxnard, California, and he taught their classes regionally for tiller operations. And so Kevin Clements was here, and he taught all of our classes for us, and pretty much 2 months throughout the summer and fall, we were able to get Station 34 and Station 45 for our tech houses through all the training for all the default members. And then now we have it back here at Station 34 to get our road time in. And so that's what you saw us doing today, was driving around in the district, simulating, different things that we might encounter on a fire ground, or driving through an apartment complex, so that, if we do get in those situations, we're prepared for it. We know the capabilities of the truck, we can back it and operate it safely. So that's the big onus of why we purchased a training tiller, and I think it's been well worth the money that we spent, so that down the road we have all that stuff and we're prepared for when the new truck comes in service. So we budgeted money for it last year, and we bought it for $32,000. So it was a private individual from California. This used to be a Torrance, California fire apparatus, so there was still some inventory sheets on there from that, and so it worked out good. We'd been looking in Texas and New Mexico, Minnesota, kind of all over, not New Mexico, but Minnesota and Vegas and all over for a training tiller, and we were able to get connected through Facebook, and it worked out where they will deliver it out here to us, and it's been a great truck. So this one would be similar to a mid-mount for positioning, similar to our one that we have now with our tower ladder with a bucket, but basically take the bucket off of the end, and we're still positioning like a mid-mount would, so we're going to spot that turntable to our objective if we have a rescue, just like a straight stick. If it's a rear mount like Station 12 has, theirs would be the exact same setup as this, except the turntable's at the rear of the truck versus at the middle of the truck. So a lot of the engineers at this station are used to driving mid-mounts and spotting that turntable, so it's kind of second nature. And then the speed of setting the ladder up is quick. There's just going to be 2 outriggers, and then you can pretty much go and get that ladder spotted. The firefighter can get out of the tiller box and go down and put their pack on and grab a saw, and they could get up to the roof to do vertical ventilation or do any roof work or throw ladders, and they're right there. So yeah, that's kind of the benefit to it, is quick setup and compartmentation. And operationally, the turning radius is the big selling point along with the compartmentation. So our current tower ladder is a 46-foot turning radius, and our engine 39, which is one of our shorter wheelbase engines, that has like a 32-foot turning radius. And the turn report that we have from Pierce basically says that the way we designed it, it'll be around a 32-foot turning radius. So that enables us to, turn a 61-foot truck in a spot that a shorter engine can turn in. So that'll be nice getting into places, especially in Lone Tree. They're higher density on the east side of the highway and narrow streets with bike lanes. And so their master plan actually says for the fire department to look to the future to purchase vehicles that will, work with their master plan and plan for tighter streets. So I think we're a little ahead of the curve with this, hopefully. That's why we're driving around doing all this training is the communication from the person in the back, the tiller operator, and the engineer up front. And so that communication is huge because, we cut down our turning radius because that rear axle on the trailer is a steer axle. So they do make rear steers on, straight sticks and some of the other aerial apparatus that are out there. But this one you can actually, cut out wide and then cut back in and veer in and have a better turning radius to get into tight spots. So that's the reason for the two operators. That helps increase our safety too, because we have somebody kind of seeing the whole truck. If we have to back, there's somebody right there. We got this summer, and our fleet division was very helpful in getting this truck all squared away. There wasn't really a whole lot of issues with it, but we did do a non-destructive ladder test on it, and so they were able to identify all those issues and get those working for us too, so we can use it as a training tiller operationally for ladder functions as well as driving. So when we got it in, we obviously stickered it up. We had a waxing party with the crews from 34s and 45s, and got it looking pretty good. Like I said, it's a 1994 that sat out in the California sun for a while. So we put a lot of work into it. We incorporated both of the tech houses, Station 34, Station 45, and then our training division is on the back that you'll get to see, as well as our fleet services division. So those guys were great in helping us out and getting it all functional and wiring headsets and radios and things like that for training. So yeah, if you want to come up here, you can hop up in the cab here. And it's, similar to any other fire apparatus. We have, our battery switch here, all of our lights up here, and then, our PTO for the ladder. But for the most part, it's like any other fire truck. The lights and everything are still functional on this truck. So if at some point we needed a reserve, there's, the possibility that could be utilized. It's not something that's planned, but I would say that, it's a pretty specialized apparatus, but it's in good shape and something we could run if we needed to. So everything's working on it. So this cab doesn't tilt, so any work that has to be done, they kind of access through the cowling. So there's the big slider on here. We can open this up and talk to the crew in the back. We obviously have our headsets, but there's six total seats, 4 in the back and 2 up front. And we can open it up for ventilation, but it's got a heater for that tiller cab, and then a heater up here for the cold winter months that we're getting ready for to do some of our training drives and things like that. So yeah, a little bit different, and still in really good shape for a 94. And then as we walk around, obviously here's the back of the cab that we talked about. That cowling's kind of in the middle there where the engine cowling is, so there's a couple seats back there, headsets, and then one of the seats flips down so you can add another firefighter in there. This comes in handy for training. We can get lots of people in the cab so we can talk about things and kind of cut down some of that learning curve too, since it's our trainer. And then as we come around, there's just a lot of compartments. Like I said, Torrance had this before us, so they still actually have some inventories in here. From what I hear, it was in service prior to the private individual that owned this before, that they had it running for quite a while as a reserve. So yeah, so as we come around here, here's our turntable here, so our 5th wheel kingpin connection here. So if the engineer comes out here, they're basically gonna throw a ground pad that's underneath the truck here, pop these out like we did earlier, and then once those are out, pretty simple. There's just 2 outriggers here. We're gonna pull this, put that down on our ground pad, pick the axle up off the ground a little bit, get some pressure off the tire, and then it's pretty much ready to go. So they would hop up on the turntable, and then all our controls are up here for the ladder. So here's all our controls, so we can raise, rotate and then extend or retract, and then lower here. Our squawk box still works, so we can talk to the firefighter at the tip there. There's the feet holds that flip down, so if somebody wanted to work off the tip of the ladder, they can operate up there. This one isn't piped with the waterway, but what a lot of the West Coast apartments do is they have like 3-inch hose, and they'll just run that down the ladder and do a ladder pipe with that if they need to do defensive operations. So that's kind of how this one's set up. And then obviously the tiller cab's down there. We do have a load chart that kind of explains, you know, the tip rating. So it's 250 pounds at 1,000 GPM, and this gives just the angles as far as you know, what it's rated to and things like that. As we come down the side of the truck here, here's the couple of the other divisions that were involved to help us out, our training division and then fleet services. So we wanted to make sure they were represented on this truck. And then it's an open ladder nest, so all of our ladders would be nested up here. This actually had some wood ladders on it, and so we were thinking about trying to get those, but they didn't come with the truck. But that would have been kind of cool. And then there's room for ladders on the exterior as well. So quite a bit of room for ground ladders. When you're designing a tiller, that you know, you can do full boxes all the way out, and so a lot of people we talked to when we were planning ours in, you know, California, they basically said you want to keep this area near your rear tiller axle open so that you have good sight lines. If you can picture the tiller operator up there, they could still see down to the ground to see their tires, their axle, and that's why we have this school bus mirror that we added. So a lot of them will have them up here, but the biggest thing is so he knows where his pivot point is, and then you can see which way your wheels are turned, and that's a huge advantage. And this one has, you know, body lines that are further in the whole way, so you can see good sight lines down the truck. Here's the ladder for the tiller operator, so we can hop up there and get a good look at the tiller box, but that's how you can get in on both sides on this one. All right, so we're up in the tiller cab here. This is where the tiller operator would sit, and the newer ones have like a gauge up here where you can tell where your wheel position is. This one doesn't have it, so we have some tape that'll mark our wheel position here, so when it's centered, then we know our tires are centered once we count, you know, how many turns to get back to center, whether it's left or right. We have our turn directionals here, so when the engineer is turning left, that'll notify us back here, and then this one's missing the cover, but the same thing if they're turning right. Windshield wiper, just like you would on any other vehicle, heater, defroster, and then this just gives us and makes sure that we're not jackknifed. So if the trailer's off too far to one side and we're gonna have a collision with the tractor and the trailer, that's going to notify us that we're in a bad position. So just some safety features that are built into it. And then, like I talked about, I don't know if you're able to hear when we were driving, but there's the stop, the go, and the backup. So our buzzer's over here. So if I buzz, you know, 1, that's stop, 2's go, and then 3 would be back up. And that notifies the engineer and the operator, you know, of what's going on. If the officer's talking on the radio or something, it's nonverbal cues that you can use to communicate back and forth. The new one will have cameras, so we'll be able to utilize those in this area. So we'll have cameras behind our rear wheel of the tiller axle, so we'll be able to see anything that you can't see from here, because obviously we can't see all the way to the ground. It lets you see your tire position and predict things. It's just an added safety feature that we have. And then it'll have, you know, air conditioning and some of the creature comforts that this truck doesn't have. So kind of predicting, there's, you know, obviously we're communicating. If the engineer's turning right, then we know, you know, we're going to clear anything on the right side here with our sight lines. And then if we have to cut left and get over, the engineer's going to cut deep into the corner and box out our turns to set us up like you would driving a trailer, so that we don't have to do much tillering back here. But if there's cars that are in our way, if we're running a merchant or something like that, then we're going to be, you know, to go right, the tiller operator would maybe go left to turn right, so they kick out and then cut in sharply. So predicting, you know, where they're going, where other cars and sorry, I was just hearing if there's another call. Seeing if, you know, just kind of predicting what's going on and ahead of them and making sure we're seeing the whole road. And then I'm going to communicate to the engineer if I see something that he can't see. I'm going to let him know what's going on. So, you know, to turn right, like I said, you know, you may turn left. So you're going to kick, if I turn left, the trailer is going to kick out this way. and then to make a right-hand turn, then I'm going to correct back this way. But like I said, if the tiller or the tractor operator, you know, cuts and boxes that turn pretty good, I may not have to do a whole lot at all. I might just go straight and then just kind of watch the curb over here and make sure I don't hit the curb. So it just depends on the situation and how tight the turn is. So they basically tell you don't over tiller, right? We don't want to be swinging all over the place or over correcting if we don't need to. But if that tractor operator sets up deep into a turn, now that enables us to be able to swing out if there is an object or something that we need to get around. And then on the back here we have our ladder compartment, just like any truck company would have. This one's an open ladder nest like we talked about. The new one will be, you know, the full compartment, so there'll be compartments out to the sides, and these will all be closed off, so you won't be able to see that ladder compartment. But that's a lot of the older trucks, like in the 80s and 90s, all had open ladder nests, and this one is, you know, early 90s, so just a little different than what we're getting. Yeah, there's not a whole lot else. Pretty similar on this side. Similar compartmentation. You know, we're out a little bit on this one versus we were recessed on that compartment on the other side. And then we just have our outriggers here. And then, you know, some similar compartmentation as we had on the engineer side, on the officer side here. So that's our about 55-foot tiller. And then the new one will be around 61 feet. So it'll be a few, you know, 5 feet longer than this one, and a little bit different, but this one will help us prepare for when the new one comes in and start having some good driving habits with it. Well, thank you for coming out and taking a look at the training tiller today. This was Station 34, and we're signing off. We'll see you in the next video.